In this video today, you're going to learn the 8 things that you need to start your next business. We're talking business planning. And if you're new here, we've been doing an entire business planning series. So just click here and head back to listen to the entire series. So here are the 8 things that you need to think about when starting a business plan. Number 1, what is your business and what do you plan to do with your business plan? Number 2, what is the vision? What is the mission of your business? Number 3, a USP or unique sales proposition, aka what makes your business a little bit different than the rest. Number 4, a SWOT analysis so you can go over the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that's going to be a really helpful exercise. Number 5, the marketing strategy. So how are you going to actually do this? How are you going to get this message out there to the people that need it or want it? How are you going to tell people your service or business exists? Number 6, operations. How do you actually do this? How do you operate from start to finish? Number 7, the financials. How do you get the money for this? Who's involved? How do you pay people? Yeah, you're going to get really comfortable with money. And number 8, your personnel, your people, your staff, the people who help you actually bring this vision to life. So that's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot. And I do recommend, if this is something you're interested in, I highly recommend going back and listening to all of the other videos if you're finding us on this one, because we went into so much detail on everything and really gave you some examples as we went through our business plan with the Brew Zone, our local coffee shop that we were starting. And I feel like there's so many different parts of this that I feel like what I'm taking away from this is that you really need to take your time. You cannot rush through a business plan. Like, you cannot rush through any of this because there are so many different aspects that you need to be thinking about, even within just operations, which is just one of the 8 things that you mentioned. So many different things that are going to go into making this business. So I feel like taking your time and really getting clear about what you want this to be, and also involving people you trust that you can maybe brainstorm with and talk through things with, I think is going to be really helpful.
I love that. That's amazing. That's good insight. I think for me, what I've gleaned from this entire business planning series, which you had to go back and listen to everything, is things could be really simple, right? We talked about like a freelancer, and that's going to look a lot more simple in terms of like timeline, how long it takes to get things off the ground, money, just operations in general, staffing. Maybe you don't really have anyone, it's just you, to a full-blown physical brick and mortar. So I think there's a huge spectrum here. And what I really appreciate of this conversation is that obviously our businesses are going to fall somewhere in that spectrum. But now, because we looked at it so wide and so in depth, we now know so much more. Like, even though I've personally been more so in like the freelancer consulting, small online business space, I never had to think about half of this stuff that we talked about. So I've honestly learned a lot from this and because of that. So I'm excited to, see where this goes. I'm excited for anyone who's listened to this series to tell us what you've learned, tell us what businesses you're starting. And I love how Hallie said, start a little bit in advance. So that was really good insight. And Dad, I think our last question for you is, we have a lot to think about. Now, what is our timeline and how do we prioritize what needs to get done?
There are simple, quick answers to this, but the actual work is extensive, right? So timelines are things that you would apply to all of the steps that you see as being necessary to make something happen. In effect, what you're doing is creating a project where you choose tasks. I'm going to buy a blender, to make matcha with, or whatever you guys do. I'm going to buy this piece of equipment. When am I going to buy that? Where in that timeline do I need to buy that? Or if I'm going to be a freelancer, I need a software for marketing purposes. Well, where in the timeline do I need that? If I've already got business coming in, then I may not need it immediately. But if I'm a startup and I'm going to start by marketing from scratch, that may be one of the first things that I need to get going on. So you have to look at all of the individual pieces and put a timeline to them that is reasonable, that is sensible, where, especially if one step follows another, obviously you need to have the first step completed first before you try to get to the other steps. The timeline part, it's actually a lot of work. And of course, the discipline to implement it takes a lot of work and a lot of mental challenge and everything. As to priorities, that's a part of timeline also, because the priorities are the things that are going to go at the beginning of the timeline, the things that you need first. Like, for example, trying to figure out how to raise money. You don't need to go starting to get a lease on an office space or buying equipment to make coffee and the like. if you don't have the money to start the business. So creating the plan, creating the financial cash flow projections and some of those kinds of things is really a priority in the scheme of all the things that have to happen. And I would tell people to do that, and the operations envisioning. Those kinds of things are needed as priorities because they are just going to be so critical to whether or not you are able to succeed at what you're going to try to do. So, yeah, but there's analysis. You have to look at every step and see whether it's a priority or not a priority. And you could go back to our video where we talked about time management. An A is something that's important and urgent. A B is something that is either important or urgent. A C is neither important nor urgent. And a D is something that you're either not going to do or you're going to delegate to somebody else, discard or delegate, basically. So thinking of things in that way can also help you make those prioritization decisions.
Super helpful. And like my dad said, you should definitely check out our video on time management because we go so far into depth on all of that. And I know a lot of people who are entrepreneurs are also very creative minded, and we tend to be people who do better with the idea than the execution. So definitely check that out if that sounds like you. Thank you so much for bearing with us on this whole journey of our business planning series. We hope that you enjoyed it. And if you found it useful, if you end up starting your own business, please let us know. We want to hear your stories. If you're
Absolutely.
doing anything, if any of this has truly been helpful and you've ended up using any of this in your real life, please either tag us on social media or comment down below. We would love to hear your stories. And if you have any further questions, anything that is confusing at all, leave a comment down below. We would love to be helpful in any way possible. Please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you very soon.